Hi, my name is Omari George, and I'm the head instructor of the Atlanta Combatives Center. And today I want to talk about how do assaults actually begin in the real world. When you go to a lot of martial arts schools, when they begin the physical training, the first thing they do is they teach you the stance that you should be in. Fundamental things that you go over in a martial arts course. And so what they'll do is it's usually they teach you to put your hands up, and then you begin learning how to move and defend against certain strikes and then deliver certain strikes. But if we think about that in terms of self-defense training, it's actually a pretty awkward way to train people for how to defend themselves in the real world. And the reason is because that's not how assaults actually start. Violent criminals that want to rob you or seriously injure or harm you or kidnap you or worse, they don't come up to you and say, hey, it's 3 o'clock, it's time to fight, put your hands up, boom, let's go. That's not how they're going to approach you. Oftentimes they come up to you in a very casual manner and begin a conversation with you. And this is what's called the interview, right? And so let's keep something in mind, that the violent criminal is not concerned about winning a trophy after this. They're not concerned about taking some award because they have been able to implement their athletic prowess to be able to show that they are a competent fighter. That's the least of their concerns. They are concerned with winning, right? And their perverse way of thinking about it, but they are concerned about achieving their own ends. And they'll do that by any means possible. Martial artists, we're the ones that are concerned about, well, who's really the better fighter and let's make sure that these two combatants are going to fight one another in the fairest possible way. But that's not what criminals are concerned about. That's why criminals attack people with subterfuge and using surprise and attempting to ambush you. So when a violent criminal actually wants to attack you or has intentions of harming you, they're not going to come up to you, announce their intentions, and put their hands up and begin to engage you in a match with you. They're going to come up to you and they're going to say, hi. They're going to ask you, do you actually know what time it is? I seem to forgot my phone. I left it in the car. Could you just give me the time real quick? Or they might say, listen, I'm new to the area. I'm looking for directions to such and such building. Or do you think you could help me? I have this issue and I hurt my arm. Could you help me carry this? And now we've begun the interview process wherein the criminal is going to now assess you, right? They're going to further assess you because they've actually already assessed you to a certain extent. That's why they chose you. And now they're going to further assess you and see, is this person, what type of person is this? Is this somebody that's going to be very difficult to subdue and control? So when we're training for self-defense, it doesn't make much sense to first teach people that this is the stance that they should be in. The first thing that we need to talk about in terms of how to defend against this is distance management. The further I can keep this person away from me, the better. If the person's so far away from me, they're not going to be able to attack me. They're not going to be able to harm me in any way, right? So when this person first comes up, I need to keep my distance, or what we in Guided Chaos call the personal comfort zone. I'm just going to keep my space while I interact with this person and see what they have to say. The second thing I want to do when I'm dealing with the interview is I need to keep my hands up, right? I need to keep my hands up in some way that if I need to quickly defend myself or protect my head, I'm able to do that. A frequent way that people will oftentimes get attacked is somebody's talking to you, they're engaging you in some type of conversation, and then suddenly the person will just lash out and begin attacking you. Or they will start to become, the conversation will start to become a little uncomfortable or a little aggressive, and then now, as that person has breached your space, now they're attacking you. So we want to keep that distance, but we also want to make sure that we have our hands up in what's called a relaxed ready position. And I certainly don't want to look combative, because if I look combative, this person's going to know that I'm about to attack them. So I need a casual position that I can have my hands, where I'm also at the same time ready to attack at any moment if I need to, if this conversation becomes aggressive, or if I get an inclination that this person is about to become aggressive. And the third thing that I need to do to deal with this situation is I need to keep my head on a swivel, and I need to look around. A common ploy for criminals is, while you're engaging in conversation with one person and they're lowering your guard as they talk about a variety of different topics, somebody else is then preparing to come behind you and hit you or grab you, take you to the ground, wherever the case may be. So when I'm talking to this person, I'm going to do the exact opposite of what I would normally want to do in everyday life. In normal everyday life, when I'm engaging with somebody that I trust, I want to put all of my attention and all of my focus on them. But now when I'm dealing with a stranger whose intentions I don't really know, that's not what I want to do. I'm going to keep looking around. I'm going to try to pay attention to what's actually happening around me to make sure that I'm not being set up for a particular type of attack by this person's accomplices. So when I'm dealing with this type of interview scenario, the first thing that I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to keep my distance, right? If the person tries to breach my distance, or if they try to get close to me, I'm going to say, hey, listen, I'd be a lot more comfortable if you would just step back. Oh, listen, it just makes me feel a little bit more safe if you would just take a step back. It's important also to note that anybody that is a law-abiding citizen is not going to feel uncomfortable with that request. Any person that continues to try to force through your boundaries in order to get close to you, you can be relatively certain that they have nefarious intentions. The second thing that I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to keep my hands up in some type of relaxed, ready position. There's many of them that you can choose. We can start with our hands up like so. We can have our hands up in the Jack Benny stance. Could have our hands folded like this as we just casually listen to what the person has to say. I look non-aggressive, but at the same time, I'm ready to go into certain striking actions that we'll go over in later videos. Then the third thing that I want to do is, as I'm talking to this person, I'm going to want to quickly assess what's happening around me. If I see that someone's abruptly coming up towards me, right, I can attempt to escape. If I see that someone's abruptly coming up behind me and I can't escape, I'm going to attack the attacker. If I assess the situation as I'm looking around, I see that this person's now becoming incredibly aggressive or moving towards me. Well, now I'm going to be prepared to attack the attacker as well. But it's very important that we begin to move away, if our intentions is for realistic, close combat defense, that we get out of this mindset, because that's not how the assault is going to actually begin. Violent criminals might not be skilled championship fighters, but they are skilled at using manipulation, deceit, and aggression to achieve their ends. And so it's very important that we don't use the dojo as a metric for how we're going to defend ourselves in self-defense and street combat. We have to recognize how people are actually attacking people in reality. And then we have to train to defend against the way that those types of situations are actually happening.